Episode 82, Forgotten Blues Players and All But Forgotten Tunings. Mistreating Mama Blues. I'm going to demonstrate this wrong first. But you're going to learn something valuable in this, both from the perspective of American music, and in terms of what to listen for, and how to keep constantly improving your ears. The lick in E goes something like this. On the recording, Furry's tuned down a whole step. So that's the first notable difference. But if you just tune the guitar down a full step, that's D to D, and play the lick out of a standard E shape, you'll still be playing it with the hand positions that I just did. There would be some value to that, I suppose, in terms of developing coordination, in terms of fingerpicking development, and holding down a good groove. But if you can follow along, you can follow along. Great, but I'm not going to give you a guitar lesson on those hand positions because I want you to take away something far more valuable from this. Your ears. Furry Lewis wasn't in a standard tuning, and he wasn't in one of the common altered tunings that you can just dial up a video on from one of the million guitar influencer channels who barely even play any acoustic guitar and certainly no fingerpicking. The secret to figuring anything out for yourself on the guitar, which allows you to begin growing exponentially because you're no longer relying on tab or somebody else's ears other than your own that are being developed, is to listen not just to the pitch, but to the quality of the notes. Now that statement sounds a little abstract. So as an example, even though the pitch is the same, those notes sound different. So on the Furry Lewis recording, when he's alternating the bass, it sort of sounds like it's in an open tuning, but it makes it difficult to know which open tuning because everything else sounds fairly standard. The missing link is the one string that makes it sound like it's in an open tuning, and that's the fourth string. What you arrive at is a tuning where the sixth string and the fourth string are in an octave together, but everything else is the same. This tuning is E-A-E, G-B-E. So in standard tuning, that means now you have 3 E strings separated by an octave. You can't really call it an open tuning because it's not tuned to an open chord, but it frees the left hand up to not have to work so hard, and it gives the quality of a slightly altered tuning. So to replay that lick from Mistreating Mama Blues in the correct tuning, and another clue to identifying this tuning on old records is to listen for what happens on the B7 chord. When you're in this tuning, you can no longer sound the B7 chord as if it were in standard tuning. You lose access to the major third on the fourth string. If you just strum all together, it'll sound pretty terrible. So if you ever hear the major third on an old blues record, it can't be in E-A-E-G-B-E tuning. On the Furry Lewis record, there is no major third on the B7 chord. Furry Lewis was born in Greenville, Mississippi, but tends to be associated with Memphis, and Joni Mitchell had written that song, Furry Sings the Blues, about her visit to his apartment much later on. Furry hated the song and felt Joni should have paid him royalties. So the next time they come into my beloved guitar world and try going after the guy who made sure that Skip James's medical bills were being paid as he lay dying in the hospital, the pre-war recordings were made between April of 1927 and September of 1929. The first sessions in 1927 were in Chicago, but subsequent sessions were in Memphis. And then much later on, Furry was rediscovered October 3rd, 1959, which was Stevie Ray Vaughan's 5th birthday to the day, and he was rediscovered by Sam Charters through Will Shade, who was the leader of the Memphis Jug Band. Charters recorded Furry Lewis in several sessions after that, and in the 1961 session at Sun Studio, Scotty Moore was the engineer. Thank you, Mike Volz, for taking me over there for dinner, for taking me over there 3 times that I got to be with Scotty on the last Thanksgiving before he passed. Scotty was the recording engineer on the 1961 Furry Lewis recording date. According to Sam Charters, quote, "The sessions with Furry were a long string of discussions between the two guitarists. We would begin a song, and I'd hear Scotty's voice over the studio loudspeaker. 'What's that tuning you're in, Furry?' I hope this encourages you to go check out some Furry Lewis. Before there was Les Paul, before there was Chet Atkins, before there was Merle Travis, there was Furry Lewis, and Charlie Patton, and Blind Blake, and Memphis Minnie, and Geeshie Wiley, and Blind Joe Reynolds, and Reuben Lacey, who only recorded 2 sides for Paramount, and Willie Brown, and of course Chester Arthur Burnett, known to the world as Howlin' Wolf, and there was the story Hubert Sumlin had about how the record label didn't want him to come over to London, and Clapton called the label and said, if Hubert's not there, I don't record. Hubert was on the next flight out. So there's an encyclopedic reservoir of American music history and great guitar playing. It breaks my heart when I think about it too long. In the 1960s, we still had the blues boom, and we had young players who cared. Nowadays, when we look at the blues scene, it's a lot of blues cruises, I suppose, and focus on the British boom of the 1960s. But without the originals, none of it would have happened. This stuff should go down in history as just as important as Joe Bonamassa, or John Mayer, or for that matter, Eddie Van Halen. Please don't tell me that I'm among the last few standing that still care. I'll see you again the next time.